Hello, it's me. So, following on from a previous video uh, that I did, where I confessed that I was a traditional lefty, not this new, strange, liberal left monstrosity that's been birthed out of the ashes of the traditional left. I rather, think that being kind and considerate to people, especially as citizens, the people who vote you in, is generally speaking a good thing. But we seem to live in a country where the citizens are not the point, but the problem. Yay! So anyway, shout out to Turn Left for their coverage on this. New Corbyn Sultana Party are taking name suggestions. Let's have a quick listen.
Sultana Party has launched a new page on their website asking for suggestions for the new name. You can fill it out and there's a box for the reasoning behind your name. Now, for a bit of fun, we conducted 2 polls with our audience on what the party should be called. In the first poll, there was a choice between Alternative, the Popular Party, the Left, your party. As you can see, the winner with 40% in our extremely unscientific poll has the Left winning. We ran a second poll, People's Party, 99%, the Left, Britain Unbound. People's Party won with 64%. Now,
right, not knowing the contents of that poll, this is the first time I've seen this video. I try to not view any of the videos that we review together because, I want to react to them and I want to give you my honest reaction to what's going on. I already filled in that online form and I was a bit of a loss, really, because my own personal feeling is if you call the party something like Hope, then you can just take the piss out of that name all you want. And you can take the piss out of every name, really. I mean, we know this, and politics is the environment within which to do that kind of thing. There's a huge tradition of it. And so I chose something relatively offensive that I felt still, kind of got the message across. Because whereas I like the idea of your party, I felt that it wasn't kind of political enough. Maybe that's the point. Maybe, your party is where it should be because of that. But of course, it is a political movement led by Corbyn and Sultana. So I thought it needs to be a bit more political. And so I chose, rather originally, the People's Party. I mean, what's in a name? And on the second poll, my choice won. So I feel entirely vindicated.
I do like People's Party, by the way. I think that's a good name.
Hey?
For me, I did fill out the form and I chose Alternative. And I'm not saying it's the best name in the world, but it's also not the only name I like. But for me, I think about Reform. And I think it's a genius name. Without any policies or context,
it is a good
you
one.
Still get a message from the name alone. Reform. It works with slogans. Britain needs reform. It's an active word, so Alternative is kind of replicating that. The name alone sends a message.
But are you going to get reform with reform? Nigel being who he is. Nigel Farage strikes me as being entirely reactive. As a political creature, he was kind of born out of a necessity, which all rebellious figures are, I think. And so he's doing well up to that point. But he's not really a leader in the sense that he has got his head around the problem and is being the vanguard. He's literally reacting to the problems that we've got here today. And with the illegal immigration thing recently, was that the U-turn? Because there were a few videos that said Nigel Farage does a big U-turn, huge announcement. And I thought to myself, he'd been a bit soft on it for the Reform members. And so maybe he's he became a bit more draconian. And that's kind of how I see Nigel Farage. And I think he's an ex-banker. And so how anti-establishment is that really? Are you really going to get reform? Really? So, I was going to say something, but I'm not sure YouTube would allow it. So I'll refrain. Onwards.
It can work with slogans such as, "We need an alternative to the billionaire class dominating our politics. Votes alternative."
But that's kind of where it
Reform
came
is a word
from.
that's used all the time in politics. It's clever subconscious marketing. All
It
people
is.
from different parties use the word reform, and in a way, it's low-key unintentionally promoting the party. Zara Sultana says she likes the left. I'm skeptical about that name. The reason is because the left isn't popular with the majority of people.
No.
The left has been conflated with liberals. A lot of people
Yes.
think Starmer is left. The right wing have
He's
made
not.
sure that anything vaguely liberal is hard left.
So this goes back to a point I've been making on a couple of videos in the past. I said previously that I felt that the left traditionally had been hijacked by this movement, which were the liberal left, which are basically conservatives. We found out after a year or so of Starmer being in power. Yeah. Not good. And so choosing the left as a name would have negative connotations to the vast majority of people who are not so engaged with politics that they can make these distinctions. If the party is to be called the left, I think it will effectively cut its own throat, be stillborn, so to speak, because a vast majority of people will just associate it in a blanket way with what we have now as a government. And I think in many ways that was the intention of the hijacking. Destroy the reputation of the left so that when people look at the left, all they see is this horrendous political movement which has brought Britain to where it is now currently. And so the only alternative is the right. So you would ask yourself, who might do this? And you would have to say right-wingers, possibly fascists, are behind all of this. I have no proof for this. It's just my opinion. And let's face it, the internet is a place where opinions live. Yeah, so shall we?
When it comes to redistribution of wealth and power, public ownership, taking on the corporate elite, which is the real left, I'm not sure most people equate the two things. When people think of the left, they think of people who support uncontrolled immigration, in capitalism, and virtue signalling social progressivism.
Which I don't support uncontrolled migration. I've made this point previously. We need to make, I think the party, your party, whatever it ends up being called, will need to make some hard choices. Because there are a lot of people out there who are totally in love with the idea that unfettered immigration is the way forward in the world. And in a different world, maybe it is, but not in the one we currently inhabit. It's just not possible. So we need messaging that tells potential members that we are going to engage fully with people who engage with us, not come over on boats or in the back of lorries, as we've been seeing. Everybody needs to have a chance if they are legitimate asylum seekers wishing to become legal migrants. And then everyone else, unfortunately, will just have to go back to whence they came. I'm not in favour of harsh punitive measures there. I would even say, look, somehow find a mechanism to make it easier for them on their return. But if they are in a position where they are fleeing, despotic regimes, rather like the one that we've got here, why would you flee one to come to another? Talk about out of the frying pan into the fire. Anyway, let's crack on.
Of course, The left is about defending migrants, minorities, and being progressive on social issues. But the left ties it with class because the two are inseparable. Whereas liberals virtue signal on social stuff whilst ignoring class. And I say virtue signal because they aren't even socially progressive. They just pretend they are.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Now, Max Shanley says he likes the left, and he does give an interesting reason as to...
Elon Musk said something a while ago, I think in relation to Bob Iger of Disney. I think it was in relation to that, where he said, I'm concerned with the current corporate fashion, I suppose, movement of people and organizations shouting from the rooftops their credentials of fairness, equality, and dare I say human indulgence, whilst all the while doing evil things. So what he said was, I'm concerned with people saying they're doing good whilst doing evil. And I think, in a nutshell, that's exactly where we are today. And I think it's a road that we have to navigate because we don't have any choice. But if things work out as I would like them to, that there's a return to some kind of normal service, that everything that has gone before, all the heartache we've experienced with the transition, what have you, will yield some positive results. And we will return to a society of magnanimous acceptance, where people just go back to accepting each other for who they are, and the need to weaponize a person's sexuality isn't, a thing. We just, look, whoever you are, it's fine. It's fine. We accept you. It's great. It's not a problem. As long as nobody's harming anyone else, on every side, we're all good.
Why he believes it's a good name. I've suggested the Left Party. It says what we are on the tin, creates a linear line of demarcation between us and Labour, seizes the once-in-a-generation opportunity to define what it means to be on the left in the popular imagination. Make sure to make your thoughts known. He then added another tweet.
I just think that if you're going to call it the left, it has to be the new left. You have to put something in there to separate us from what, as I said earlier, the larger population who don't necessarily follow politics would regard as more of the same, as we're getting now with Starmer. And I don't think the left, no, it would have to be the new left. The nouveau left. What's French for left? Is it izquierda in Spanish? That's too long a word.
Below. Also, let's face it, the press and our opponents are going to refer to us as the Left Party anyway, so we might as well unashamedly embrace it. Zara Sultana is 100% correct.
Not entirely sure.
I think it's interesting. Maybe the left could be redefined. I don't know if that would work, but I do think it is important that Starmer or Liberals are not seen as left-wing, because this has done a great deal of damage to the perception of being left-wing. If it's pitted against Liberals, I can see Max's logic. Whether it's doable is another thing. I think the more interesting point is his second tweet saying the media will still call it left-wing, which is probably true.
Yeah.
Now, our polls have...
no matter what happens with your party, it's going to get vilified. The very reason I joined the party is because what's coming down the pike from the media and the establishment. Anyone that the establishment hates should effectively be the person that you're interested in if you're looking for real political change anywhere in the world. Whoever they hate, and I'm not talking, and I've said this previously, about how can I put it, a Johnny-come-lately, if I can put it that way. The person that they hate, they must have hated for a long time, as they did with Jeremy Corbyn. He has a history of being anti-establishment, and the establishment have a history of being anti-Corbyn. And that, for me, is a good thing.
Being very popular. And even though, as I said, it's not scientific, it's just a YouTube poll, I've seen support for the name on Twitter. Now, again, Twitter isn't real life, but the fact that People's Party isn't just popular with our audience, it's at least popular with the online left, that could be significant. Someone suggested that name to Max. Craig the Boss says, I'm for the People's Party. Max replied with
choice.
a previous tweet he made. It only works if you define what the people are from the get-go. Is it the labouring masses and their subordinate class allies, or does it refer to literally...
I'm not sure if this Max Shanley, who I've never heard of before, so you have to excuse me, I'm basing whatever I say on that. It only works if you define what the people are for from the get-go. Is it the labouring masses and their subordinate class allies, or is it, no, fuck off? Sorry, Max. It's, for me, it's whoever wants to join. I don't doubt for 1 second that we're going to be in a situation whereby we're going to be getting people voting for Corbyn who 5 years ago would never have voted. Because they're aware that something's afoot with Starmer and everything else. And if we go to the Conservatives, as Andrew Bridgen has rightly pointed out, it's two cheeks of the same arse. The uni party strikes again. Nothing will happen. Kemi Badenoch, for all her posturing at the ballot box, is the box where they stand when they're debating each other in Parliament. It just, whenever I see that, it's just theatre. And to see theatre being carried out so consummately by so many people makes me feel a bit ill, frankly. But for me, with what Max Shanley's saying, I personally feel it's going to be a very big mixture of people. A lovely, hopefully lovely melting pot. And we're not all going to agree, and that's also lovely. Because isn't that democracy in action? I hope it is.
Everyone, big capital included. Now, I think that's an easy thing to define, as long as the messaging is, we need to take on the corporate elite. This is why we are the People's Party. It's the people versus the elites, the people versus profit, the people versus endless war, the people versus the billionaire class. The name People's Party inherently has a populist bent, and the left needs to be extremely populist. So using a name which I think is already populist, and then using the name to define the values, which is the 99% versus the 1%, could be very powerful. What do you think?
That.
It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on my views on various names. And if you want to suggest...
So as I say, shout out to Turn Left for their coverage. Please go over there, watch the full article and the other bits and pieces that they have going on. I've watched a few articles by them previously, and they all seem to be very good, even if I don't agree with them on a technical level. They're very good. I wouldn't say they're unbiased, of course, but I think that's okay. If you're getting your news sources from lots of different places, it's okay. So the People's Party, it doesn't matter what name they pick, it's going to get torn apart. The people, what people? You can hear it now. They'll probably Photoshop pictures of Corbyn again, and pictures of Zara Sultana. That'll be new. In various communist-like poses. But they do have a problem because they painted Corbyn previously as such a deep communist when he's not really. Because I don't agree with communism. It'll be interesting to see what they do to Zara Sultana, what personality they make up for her. But what I did realise last time, when I voted for Labour because of Corbyn, is the movement attracted people who transcended mainstream media. Because he was getting vilified in the mainstream media, and people still joined. Lots of people still joined. There are people out there who understand what's going on, who are aware, as I said, that there is something afoot. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Do like and subscribe. And until next time, this is me signing off. Do look after yourselves.